Hello, and welcome to show number 2610 of Eyes on Success, a weekly program empowering the visually impaired with expert advice, personal stories, and the latest in technology and accessibility. I'm Nancy Torpey.
And I'm Pete Torpey.
If you'd like, feel free to inhale your arms up overhead. Bringing the hands together, exhale, hands at the heart center. May you have compassion in your thoughts. May you have kindness in your words and actions. And may you have love and peace in your hearts.
And that's what you're likely to hear at the end of every yoga class that today's guest offers.
Yoga can be accessible for everyone when taught with clear descriptions and flexible options. We'll talk with visually impaired yoga instructor Aly Slaughter about guiding gentle classes, adapting poses for different bodies, supporting students of all abilities, and building community through in-person or virtual sessions. But first, for our tip of the week. This week's tip comes from Aly Slaughter.
My tip is to try something new. Perhaps hearing about yoga has intimidated you or have thought, oh, it's only for someone that's flexible or, can balance. Yoga really is for everyone. It's so much more than a physical practice. And even the physical practice is, once you kind of find your groove and what feels best for you and find that mind, body, breath connection and stick with it a few times. I think that anyone really can find the immense benefits that it can have on your overall life.
Support for Eyes on Success is provided by
the My Tools for Living retail store at the Chicago Lighthouse, offering tools and technologies to support everyday life across the vision loss spectrum, as well as ongoing advice. More information is available at mytoolsforliving.com.
You are listening to Eyes on Success. Success, 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 success.
Let's start by meeting Aly.
Hi, my name is Aly Slaughter, and I am a yoga teacher, among other things in life. I am visually impaired. I typically say visually impaired, low vision. I am also legally blind. I am based in the St. Louis area. I teach a few in-person classes as well as classes online. I teach how I wanted to be taught. When I started yoga as a visually impaired person, it was really difficult for me. I would have to purposely set up my mat near one of my friends that I had gone to the class with because I couldn't get close enough to the teacher in order to see them. And it took a while, and even if after going to classes for a while, some of the shapes or poses were unfamiliar to me, and or if they were described using Sanskrit. So I was always kind of turning my head, my face to look at maybe my friend if I didn't know what was happening. And when I decided to go for yoga teacher training, I knew that once I started teaching, I wanted to, again, teach how I needed to be taught as a visually impaired person. And that's with a lot of descriptive language. So I talk a lot through my classes.
And being blind myself, I can certainly relate to that, and I'm sure many of our listeners can. You go to these exercise classes, and the teacher expects you to be able to see what they're doing up front. And even if you ask them to be descriptive because you can't see, they try, but it isn't really all that great. And there are a lot of things I miss. I mean, I'll hear things like, and left foot, 2, 3, 4, right foot. And it just doesn't mean anything to me. So I can appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that you did yoga as well as a number of other things. I'm kind of curious, what else keeps you busy?
Oh, so I do copy editing, which is also a remote position job. It's another part-time job. And then I do accessibility testing, which is also remote. I've really embraced the remote lifestyle. I really like to travel a lot, and yeah, the remote lifestyle has really been helpful for me being able to travel as much as I have since COVID. Because again, before that, life was kind of, working in a physical space. And as I mentioned, like when I was at my friend's, spent a few weeks at her place, I was able to also do my editing work. If there was an accessibility test that came up, depending again on the time zone, I could do that. And when I'm traveling within the States, it's like I can stay with a friend for a couple weeks because I can still do work aside from the couple places that I teach in person here.
Remote work can be okay for some people, I guess. Cool.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people probably think they know what yoga is, but I'm guessing most of us do not because yoga can be many things. Can you explain what yoga is?
You're right. It could be many things. And in general, in the more recent years, many people view it more as like a workout. And some people are very much like, I can't do yoga. I'm not flexible. I can't do those balances. Really, the word yoga means union or to unite. And it's really about uniting the body, breath, and mind. Some of the physical postures really began in order to sort of move the body, get some energy out so that you could find a little bit more ease in practicing some stillness, which is often hard for most people, myself included. So it's really a combination, again, of finding that unity with the body, the breath, the mind, and then taking it a lot further. It's not just a practice on the mat for that 30 minutes or on the chair or wherever you may be practicing for that 30, 45 minutes, an hour or whatnot. It's a practice that really is about life and uniting with yourself, uniting with one another. The word unity is in the word community. And so to me, when I started practicing, I did start it as a physical practice. I do work out a lot. I lift heavy weights, and weightlifting shortens your muscles. I was sore a lot. I needed to really focus on the lengthening, which is a lot of what I thought I would, be getting from practicing yoga, the stretching, the gaining flexibility. When I first started practicing, I did not like it, mostly because of that stillness at the end, the shavasana, which is the final resting pose shape. I struggle with a lot of anxiety and depression, and I'm also very competitive with myself and really determined to kind of see things out. So as I decided I was going to start practicing, even though I didn't like it at first, I was like, okay, I'm gonna stick to this for a while. And eventually I did start to realize the benefits it was having on my own mental health. And so I stuck with it. I came to learn it wasn't just a physical practice.
How long have you been practicing yoga?
I took my first class, 20 years ago, I bet. And I really started committing more to the practice around 2013. And for about 5 years, I was practicing. At that point, I really was enjoying yoga so much and had really found so much benefit to it, again, for my mind. And so I decided to go for yoga teacher training, which was in 2018. So that was in the beginning of 2019 is when I taught my first official paid class, I should say, and have been teaching ever since.
What do you do at the beginning of each session?
When I start my classes, especially if they're blind or visually impaired and or new, I like to start with orienting people to the space and the mat. Like in my virtual classes, I'll be like, okay, my mat is facing the screen long ways. So if I get onto all fours right now, you see the left side of my body and what I'm going to call the long left side of my mat. I'm on hands and knees. My fingers are facing what I'll call the top short side or the front of my mat, whereas my toes are currently facing the back short side or the bottom. And then to my right is the right long side. So that way, when we are in different, shapes, like say we're in a down dog, then I can be, like, so slowly walk your feet up to your hands at that top short side of the mat. Or if we get into like, say, like a warrior two, I'll say, if we're standing at the front of our mat, that front top side, I'll say, step that left foot back and then pivot and plant that left foot so it's grounded into the earth, where the outer edge of that left foot is parallel to that back short side of the mat. And the toes are facing that long left side, whereas that right toes are still facing that top short side.
Those are great additional directions, and it certainly is important to orient the person within their space. I think that's a great add.
You said that when you went to yoga classes initially, the instructor would be instructing in ways that didn't do it for you. Can you give an example of how you would explain to a room full of people how to get into a pose? So the photograph we're asking you about has you doing Warrior 3. Can you describe that?
I can. I will also say that I don't know that I've ever taught Warrior 3 in a class. So in that photo, essentially, I was starting in a standing shape. So to get into that Warrior 3, I would start bending that left knee and start lifting that heel up so that I'm on the ball of the foot, and then I'm on the toes, just kind of starting to slowly lift that left leg. And then I would start to gently hinge my body forward as I start to lift that left foot behind me and continue to kind of slowly come into it until essentially, though, that left leg would be extended back behind me, parallel to the earth, and my upper body also parallel to the earth. So face facing the earth, heart facing the earth, core facing the earth. And then in that photo, my arms are extended forward. So my biceps would be alongside my ears with my fingers reaching forward, my palms facing one another. And then those arms are also parallel to the earth. And then that right leg is that standing leg. So almost like the capital print letter T, where my right leg was the base, and then the rest of my body is that top line for that. So I would also typically ask in a class, like, if I'm describing this differently or not well enough, like, please let me know so that I can think about a different way. Because even if I am describing it in a way that makes sense to me, and how if someone were to describe that to me, it might not make sense to someone else, because our brains all work differently.
So what do you think, Pete? Would that description have gotten you into the right position, do you think?
I have a very good visual image inside my head of what that looks like. And if I didn't fall over standing on that one foot all stretched out, I think I could get into that position.
Well, and like I was going to say, really, any of the shapes can be adjusted for anyone's body shape or ability. An example, again, of that Warrior 3 supported would be your hands don't need to be lifted off the earth. You could have your hands resting on the back of a chair, on a dresser, on, so if you wanted to have them extended forward, you could also have your hands down on the earth, and if you wanted to prop them up on blocks or books, just to have that support behind you.
So this seems like yoga can work for people of all levels of abilities and experience.
Oh, absolutely.
It sounds like there can be a lot involved in yoga here in terms of the terminology, the poses, and the different aspects of it. And I'm guessing, like anything else, it takes time to get into it. So people, if they're starting with yoga, they should be a little bit patient. They're not going to be experts in a day or a week or even a month, but there's continual improvement that can be had by staying with it and sticking with the program.
Absolutely. Or ever. I don't think any of us are ever experts in any of our field. I think we're all constantly learning, and I think that's how we all constantly improve, is by being willing to have that open mind and to learn from ourselves, from others.
So people shouldn't be intimidated by the first class.
I don't think so. I know people still are.
So you brought up the issue of you as the instructor not being able to see much. How do you provide feedback to your students if you can't see them very well.
Again, going back to yoga being an experience about yourself, a unique experience to the individual. When I first started teaching, I told people who didn't know me, I was, like, I'm visually impaired. I'm teaching from my mat. I'm not going to be walking around the room and making adjustments on you. I'm going to describe these shapes and poses as best I can, as well as give options for them. And you do what feels right for you. It's hard not to come in and move and try to kind of keep up with everyone else. And that's one of the reasons I actually really like virtual, that I didn't realize I was going to be such a benefit, because I teach blind and sighted people. And even my sighted people that come to my classes say how much they like the virtual, because I tell them, you can keep your camera off. Like, I can't see you. And, if we're in an in-person class, I mean, you're there, but I still can't see you. But, some of it is just that mindset that a lot of us have of like, I don't want other people to think I can't do this. I have to try to keep up with everyone. And in one of my classes in person, we have the lights off, so nobody can really see each other. And then, like I said, people do enjoy on the virtual that I'm like, you can keep the cameras off, because I really do. It's like, I'll describe these shapes and this is what I'm doing. And again, here's some variations. If none of these work for you, do something else. Like, the whole point of this is to practice listening to and trusting ourselves. And that's, trusting what's best for us today and in this moment. And that's with our bodies, our minds, our breaths. It's really starting to find that inner trust and peace and stillness.
Well, going into this interview, I was thinking there's a benefit for visually impaired students to have a visually impaired instructor, because you can describe things possibly more thoroughly than maybe a sighted instructor who's trying to imagine not being able to see. But I hadn't really thought of the benefit to a sighted student. And I'm one of these people who's taken a large number of exercise classes, and I always need to make substitutions because I'm not the best athlete in the room. And I mean, I've just kind of learned they're not going to be watching me because there's no benefit to them to watch me. So I kind of pretend that nobody can see me. But I could imagine if I were just a little bit more self-conscious, that it would be more liberating to be in a class where nobody can see me.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have to worry about what people think when I start wobbling and toppling and not doing it as well as everybody else.
First of all, that's awesome that you don't care. And I know a lot of people don't, are like, oh, nobody's watching me. And yet there are a lot of people who do still care, even though we tell ourselves like, oh, I don't care what anybody thinks. It's like, for many people, there is still that kind of little voice. It's like, oh, I gotta keep up with everyone, and I find that by really encouraging and reiterating that throughout my yoga class, any yoga class, anything, that it can help with other aspects of life, of trying to, again, trust what is best for us and what feels right for us.
You are obviously a big fan of yoga. Can you explain what some of the benefits of doing it are?
By using this practice, again, and it could just be a 5-minute practice. Not that I'm encouraging people not to come to, a teacher, me, but it is a practice that, again, you can do because it's about your breath and really trying to focus on that, focus on trying to relax the body, noticing the sensations in the body, using the breath to try to release and relax and trying to calm the mind. And I feel that in a yoga class, if we are reminded of that, that hopefully we can come back to those reminders as we go about our day and remember that, okay, if I come back to the breath, right now my mind's starting to go, on all cylinders. Like, I really need to slow it down. I need to come back. I need to breathe. I feel like constantly taking those classes or just practicing in general can again be really beneficial to all aspects of our lives as well as others.
I assume you interact with the students in these classes. Do the students interact with you also and with each other?
Yeah, I think so. You know, online, it's like we'll kind of come a little early, and then I have regulars, and they may not necessarily have ever met in real life, and yet it's like they know that they're coming, kind of regularly. So then they start to know each other. They'll start to, if we're all kind of having a conversation, or if I'm having, a conversation with a couple of them, it's like other people, we just sort of, everyone just kind of starts to know one another, bit by bit. And if someone's not there, it's like, oh, do you know where so and so is? It's like, oh yeah, they were going to be out, this week or whatever.
So that's kind of a nice aspect too. In addition to getting the exercise, is some kind of social interaction and getting together with a group of people.
Absolutely. And I also feel and have found that again with the virtual, it's like anyone can do it from anywhere, and not just, your own home, like literally anywhere. A couple of my regulars, as I mentioned, I'm based in the St. Louis area. I have people in California. I have people in Maryland. I have people in Denver and Chicago. I have a friend in France who comes, fairly regularly. A friend in Germany, a friend in Canada. And additionally, I can teach from anywhere, which selfishly helped me, which I enjoy. Like I can't drive. It was like, oh, this is easy to just go to my basement and set up a class. I don't have to worry about a ride. And then as I kept it going, these virtual classes, I actually spent quite a few weeks with my friend in France who comes to my classes, and I was able to still teach my classes from there. It's just, teaching it 3:30 in the afternoon versus 9:30 in the morning.
You talked about active and gentle yoga. Do you teach a combination of those, or do you sway one way or another?
So when I first started teaching, I taught very active classes, and when I say active, I don't want it to sound like my gentle ones aren't active. We're definitely still moving depending on the day and how everyone is, what everyone's feeling up to. I guess when I said active, I meant more like the power strength, kind of really fast moving, lots of, I'm going to say chaturangas. It's essentially a yoga push up, and, practicing some of those kind of big balance shapes. And I've really veered away from that. And so I do call it more of a gentle class. And some of my classes, it's like, we're not even going to do a down dog today. We're just going to be on our backs, onto our seats, like on all fours, kind of low to the ground. The other classes that I do that I will say are more gently active, where we are doing more standing shapes, and we do, still do balance shapes and whatnot. It's just at a slower pace and allowing people more time to really figure out what shape they want to be in on that day. Like it could be different than what they may have typically take, just depending on how you're feeling. So yeah, I try to just sort of slow it down, I guess, is the best way to say that.
Well, it's good for people to know what they're getting involved in and what to look forward to, because different people like different things.
Yeah, yeah. Aside from wanting to make my classes as physically accessible as possible for all people of all abilities, all bodies, all backgrounds, I also want my classes to be financially accessible. The classes that I offer through myself, not through other organizations. So ever since I did start the offering virtual classes, I've always done them donation based, so that anyone who would like to come to my classes or try, and if that is a barrier for people, I want them to be able to join no matter what. That being said, I hope if one is able to, they would pay me what they may for a studio class, or if they were to take a class that has a set price. Kind of thinking about what's comparable or what they may do. And again, if they couldn't, if that was a barrier for people to even start trying it, I want people to know that I do offer that as a donation, and it's a honor system donation, I guess.
If somebody wanted to attend one of your classes, either in person or virtually, how would they do that?
Usually people will reach out to me, so they can reach me by my email and or send me a message on social media. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, or word of mouth also, luckily, has helped, and I have had some regulars that have stuck with me since the initial virtual classes. I was also very blessed kind of during those COVID years. I received a grant from Yoga Alliance, which allowed me to teach 12 classes for free. And it was primarily for the blind and visually impaired community. So I was able to connect with a lot of people that way. And then I have also taught, again, for other organizations that were having online yoga classes at the time.
And what is your email address if somebody wants to reach you about taking a class?
Yeah, so it's my name followed by yoga. So it's Aly, Aly, Slaughter, S as in Sam, and then the word laughter, yoga@gmail.com.
And if somebody is looking for your social media presence?
My Instagram is Aly Slaughter Yoga. So again, ALYSLAUGHTERYOGA. And the Facebook page is Yoga with Aly, ALY.
At the end of these interviews, we usually end with a big thank you, but I'm going to end with what we always say at the end of yoga classes, namaste.
Thank you. And I was going to say I could end with how I always end my yoga classes if you want me to.
Oh, please.
Feel free to inhale your arms up overhead. Bringing the hands together. Exhale, hands at the heart center. May you have compassion in your thoughts. May you have kindness in your words and actions. And may you have love and peace in your hearts. Today as you go forward, may you be happy, may you be healthy. May you have love and laughter in your day. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for having me. And until next time, take care and be well.
You know, it would be worth doing all of your positions for half an hour or an hour just to end the session with that and move on into the rest of the day. Yoga, as you heard, can be very rewarding, especially when teachers trust students to listen to their bodies and make the practice their own. For many of Aly's students, that combination of clear guidance, flexibility, and community is what makes yoga feel so welcoming, sustainable, and genuinely helpful in everyday life.
So maybe you'll want to even try it out yourself sometime. And the show notes for episode 2610 will have any contact information or resources that you might have missed.
That's it for this week's show. Next week on Eyes on Success, we'll be talking about Lumen, a new voice-driven AI tool created to help people with vision loss manage email more easily. We'll talk with the visually impaired founder, Sriram Ganesh, about building this AI-driven technology, the importance of user feedback, privacy controls, as well as future enhancements and broader platform support.
You've been listening to Eyes on Success, available wherever you get your podcasts.
For show notes, resources, and more information, visit our website at eyesonsuccess.net.
Thank you for being part of our community. Until next time, I'm Peter Torpey.
And I'm Nancy Goodman Torpey. Thank you for listening.